And ladies first, Kens, you got the first pick.
Yeah.
So every time we take a team, of course, that comes off the board. So one team, each person, we all get 4. Kens, who's your first team?
Yeah, I did. I tried to preach the youngest goes first tactic to our group chat, hoping
and it worked.
It went my way. So I'm pumped. And with the first pick, I took the Houston Texans over the 9.5 wins, which I thought was a stunning number. Now, it is a little bit pricey, around minus 140. We did just hear about Higgins' ACL. Mm-hmm. I still feel good about what can happen for this team. We're talking about a team that had 12 wins when they ranked 29th in yards per carry. Now you have David Montgomery. Now you have a healthier, I should say, at this point, receiving core with Tank Dell, with Nico Collins. I don't understand how this is sub 10.5. I think it's phenomenal value to even get the 9.5 number. Again, we're talking about CJ Stroud, who had a very, very below average year. I think he was like bottom 6 in passer rating in the league. You just need him to play average quarterback football, not make insane mistakes, make the easy passes, not have 80 gajillion interceptions. Getting his guys back, should be a little bit more protected. Add David Montgomery. I'm missing the regression part from the 12 wins.
I will say, RJ, Bills, Bengals, Colts, Cowboys, Titans. So it's a tough start. Right?
Yeah.
It's a tough start.
Schedule's pretty good, but the schedule makers did them a solid. I mean, look, you get the Jaguars game that's supposed to be on the road. It gets to go in England. So I mean, that's your biggest divisional game. So I do like playing them on the divisional odds a little bit more than I do the win totals. But look, this was a top 3 pick for me, getting the Houston over. I knew it would get snapped up early.
There we go.
Defense remains the lead. Offense, like you said, looks better. Offensive line additions, too, not just to mention David Montgomery. And you lose Jaden Higgins, but Tank Dell looks like he might be on the way back, too. He was a key piece for them a few years ago when that offense was still developing. So you got a 12-win team from last year, like you said. That was 3 Davis Mills start last year, too. They beat my Bills with David Mills, and now they're getting, as we're going to get to in the week 1 segment, they're being well underrated against the Bills. You know, they're plus 1.5 against the Bills at home. I think this is a better team than the Bills. So I agree with you, 9.5. It should be 10.5 like the Bills is, and you're getting good value here. So, yeah, over 9.5 Houston, I would have taken it probably on the turn as well.
Do you think Higgins will be enough to potentially get this price closer to like minus 120, or that's just not enough of it?
They're not moving it. No.
Yeah.
This was going to be. I wanted this with the second pick. I wanted to take the Texans over. By the way, I read about this. It's on CBSSports.com, and you could still. I saw it. I looked earlier today because I got Tank Dell comeback player of the year 60-1. Down to 40-1. I still think that's a pretty good price. I mean, we're not celebrating Jaden Higgins' injury, obviously, but like Higgins getting hurt means Dell is probably going to see more snaps. And then, when you talk about the spirit of the rule or whatever, coming back from a difficult injury, you got to worry about Patrick Mahomes and other guys who were injured that are higher profile. Tank Dell missed an entire season, and like he was explosive in his first 2 years before he got hurt. So I like that bet. I think Tank Dell being healthy really like helps the Jaden Higgins stuff. But I mean, it definitely hurts, but this is not a high octane passing offense. This is not one where you need 4 star receivers out there able to catch the ball. You want guys you can take deep shots with, which you could do with Nico Collins, who's also a great possession receiver. I think we see a little bit of a bounce back from CJ Stroud. A lot of criticism of him, this offseason at the end of last year, obviously. And this would have been my first overall pick if I'd been selecting at 1-1. So good job, Kens.
I'd venture to even say you don't need the offense to be insane star power. That wasn't really the movie. Right. Like the defense is phenomenal, if not better this season. So like the whole offensive idea in general doesn't need to be what's carrying your weight. Yeah. We're still going to get an improved offense. I have such a hard time believing we'll see worse play from CJ Stroud, and we got 12 wins out of him and Davis Mills.
I was going to say we're just 3 years removed from a Rookie of the Year season. Like we know that the talent is there, Brinson.
Yeah. The offensive line additions, RJ mentioned them. That is huge. Like that was the real issue for the Texans last year on offense. They couldn't run the ball and couldn't protect CJ Stroud because the offensive line was so bad. Should be much improved this year, and if it is, then this is definitely the best team in that division.
All right, clearly we all love Houston, but like we showed there, minus 140, so grab it now while you can before it gets more juiced or moves up. Brinson, you have the 2 pick. Where are you going?
Much like Ken's, I had someone suffer a potential season-ending injury before like in between the draft and this actual show. Tyler Biadasz, the starting center or ostensible starting center for the Chargers, I got rolled up on in joint practices with the 49ers. Looks like he's out indefinitely, which generally means a long time. I don't think nobody's expecting him to be ready for like I don't even know if PUP, it's probably an IR situation. I don't even know if PUP is in play. We'll see. But that's going to be the key here, I think, is the Chargers offensive line. Last year, obviously, you lose Rashawn Slater, you lose Joe Alt, and the offense isn't as good because those are two all-pro caliber or Pro Bowl caliber at least starting tackles. You don't you wonder if are they practicing next to a substation? Is this just standard Chargers luck? Like how are guys getting hurt on this offensive line this early? I think Justin Herbert's live to win MVP. I think the voters would want to give it to him if he had that kind of year. Great starting schedule. The first 2 weeks, you get the Cardinals and the Raiders at home. Yeah. You really have to think 2-0 to start the season. At Bills, at Seahawks, very difficult, of course. But I think, even though you have an extremely tough division, Jim Harbaugh just wins. And he's got a MVP caliber quarterback. He's got an elite defense. And if the offensive line is healthy, I think Amari and Hampton, and now look, Mike McDaniel in town. I mean, like that's the big difference too on offense. You're getting all these different guys you're going to use out of the backfield. Their various weapons, running catch guys, like Ladd McConkey, shout out Georgia, and Quentin Johnson, who these guys are going to step up their play in the Mike McDaniel offense. I love that Jim Harbaugh went outside the box, RJ, and decided to go with someone like McDaniel here.
Yeah, great offensive coordinator. Didn't quite make it as a head coach, but look, he had some great seasons with Tua Tagovailoa. Led the NFL in 3 different stats, 3 different years. Whether it's completion percentage, yardage. He can get it done, and that's with Tua Tagovailoa. Now you got Justin Herbert, a guy taken in that same draft, who everybody I think likes more on a talent level. I mean, you could really unlock something there with that offense. So, be interesting to see what they can do on defense without Jesse Minter there. I really downgrade teams that lose very, very good defensive coordinators. We saw it in Baltimore when Mike McDonald left. Defense did not look the same. So let's see what happens there with the defense, but they have everything they need on offense.
It all goes back to the quarterback conversation again. Justin Herbert is a guy we have been talking about for years, has MVP level talent, but he's been running for his life. We saw that last year. Hasn't really had the weapons around him. Kenz, what do we think about the Chargers at 9.5?
I just half of me wants to play devil's advocate of Justin Herbert always has good years statistically. He is a good quarter. It's just
nothing like the first 2 though. The first 2 he was incredible.
First 2 was
and
fair.
Then the last ones it's been injuries and
he poops his pants in the playoffs. So if I'm gonna,
but we're just talking regular season wins. That's all we need.
I would have to be the win total. But it's they're almost assuming 5 to 6 more points per game based off Mike McDaniel joining the offense who isn't on the field. And I think the world of what he did, but he is coming off getting fired. Let's not forget that. I mean, that's an over-exaggeration. I'm just saying,
but that was an offense that was putting up insane. To start the season too, so I guess,
just Justin Herbert is, how much gap is there in the
2 years ago?
You know what I mean? That's where I just hesitate of, how much further they're going to go with a lot of the same personnel that they have. But
so are you going under? Are we going against Brinson here?
I'm not going against Brinson. Okay. I'm just not on this crazy Chargers train that I think a lot of America's on. I guess I'll say that.
To play devil's avocado back at you. Two things here. One, Jim Harbaugh has won less than 11 games once in his entire NFL coaching career. He just finds a way there. And then Chris O'Leary, the defensive coordinator who came in to replace Jesse Minter.
From Western Michigan or something?
Yeah, but he was on the staff with the Chargers in 2024. So he's familiar with the personnel and what they want to do. So I feel pretty good about that. And again, Harbaugh, if this was 10.5 or 11.5, I wouldn't take it. But I think 9.5, much like the Texans, you're about a 17-game schedule. 10 wins is not a crazy number anymore when you have 17 games. Go 10-7 and you're there, and that's not really that great a season for them.
Can we pull up the schedule really quick and we'll move on? I have the 3rd pick, but can we just pull up the Chargers schedule? Everybody watching right now, can you guys pick out 10 wins? I'm going to go through really quick, right? Cardinals, yes. Raiders, yes. We said start 2-0. Bills, maybe not. Seahawks will be tough. Broncos will be tough.
Let's say they go 1-2 in that stretch.
I think you split. I think just to be when you talk about the Chargers, they are on the same level as the Chiefs and the Broncos. I mean, they were last year. They're right there. So I think it's fair to split with the Chiefs and the Broncos. So you're at 4 right there. Okay. I'm not going to give Matt Rams because the Rams are the best team in the history of football. The Texans is a big one. Texans week 9 is a big one for me and Ken's here on the 9.5 with those two teams square off.
Monday Night Football, Ravens.
I'm trying to look at what our percent chance for all these games is.
Yeah, so
Jets and Dolphins, and then the Raiders again on the back end is really nice when you want to pile up those wins. So you're at 8 there, and Jim Harbaugh is going to beat the 49ers. That's a Jim Harbaugh revenge game. He's a psychotic revenge guy. He might be out for revenge in week 10 at the Ravens because they fired his brother. That's Jim Harbaugh is a maniac.
100%. Yeah. That's all we're going to hear about leading into that game. All right. So it sounds like we all, and I think we just saw a comment there. It sounds like they lean over. That'll be an interesting one. A number that's a little more digestible is 7.5. And you get that with the Colts. And that is my pick at number 3. I'm going to go over. I know it is low hanging fruit to say, did you see how they started off last season? Did you see the offense? They were the best offense in football. They went 8-2, all of that. But it is true. They did look like a very good football team. And then they have to go and pull Philip Rivers off the couch and they just completely fall apart. So I understand this is 100% depending on Daniel Jones' health, which is a big question mark. Achilles is no joke. If the health is there, though, I definitely see them getting 2-8 wins. The O-line was one of the best in football last year. The majority of it comes back outside of Braden Smith. Jonathan Taylor is Jonathan frickin' Taylor, people. He's still young enough to be dominant out of the backfield. I know Pittman is gone. I know Keenan Allen's not really going to move the needle here, but Alec Pierce had a big second half of the year. Josh Downs can step up. And more importantly, you have one of the best tight ends, up-and-coming tight ends, in Tyler Warren coming off an elite rookie year. I mean, the defense, I understand, has concerns, but they have Sauce Gardner, which sort of just went forgotten because the team fell apart last year. The secondary is decent. Charvarius Ward on the other side. The draft, they got some value getting C.J. Allen in the second round for the pass rush. And I think the schedule has a huge part of this as we're looking now. It's rated as the 9th easiest. I know that's always tough because, it's based off of last year's win totals for the opposing teams. But I do think it's one of the easier schedules. So, again, with all of that said, this is 100% based off of Daniel Jones' health because if he is not out there, I don't think they get to this many wins. But I'm hoping that he's healthy. I think the pieces are around him to get there.
They're talking about in camp, doesn't look like he's ever injured, which,
I mean,
which I'm scared to buy into.
It's the all-time camp speak, right, Brinson? It's like you don't get any more than that. Daniel Jones looks perfect. MVP level type play, from Daniel Jones. I don't buy it, especially considering how much mobility is involved with his game.
Yes.
It's going to be a struggle. That's
what worries me.
Shane Steichen went 9-8 and 8-9 in back-to-back years with Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson.
Nothing flashy.
The ghost of Peyton Manning. I think he might win 8 games with just anyone. You could go break anyone out of retirement at 60 years old and he might do it. So very good coach. We'll see if he's up to this task, if Daniel Jones isn't the same Daniel Jones, but it has a chance. I just laying minus 135 on over 7.5 when you're already relying on Daniel Jones is tough to do, but good on you for having the guts to do it.
Yeah,
I think one of the concerns here is the Keenan Allen signing concerns me, not because I love Keenan Allen. Shout out 336. And in Greensboro, North Carolina. But signing Keenan Allen at this point kind of gives me Alec Pierce hadn't been out there once. They haven't had Alec Pierce out there at all. Josh Downs has been injured he's a great player, but he's been injured his entire career. And so there's a situation where you have Daniel Jones with a bad Achilles and his number one wide receiver is either Ashton Doolin or Nick Westbrook-Akini, which is that's it. Look, if the offensive line is good and Jonathan Taylor can run, that won't matter as much. If they struggle to run the ball at all or Taylor isn't healthy, they don't. I mean, they have Seth McGowan and DJ Giddens behind him. The depth, there's some fragility to this offense that worries me a little bit. Division not impossible to overcome, and I agree with RJ. Shane Steichen, great coach. They have Tennessee legend and NFL name Hall of Fame offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter in town. So you got some potential for fireworks, but I do worry about the fragility of this offense because of the depth.
And somebody did say nobody comes back from that injury and plays well. And I'm trying to think of the big names that have come
Cousins
back.
And Rodgers.
Cousins, Rodgers.
And we're both
right. And how old were they when they came back? Because Jones is 29. It's not like
he's only 29.
Rodgers and Kirk were both. Yeah.
Why did I think he was so much?
But he wasn't the level of quarterback
him.
of those guys when he got
right.
hurt.
He's a much more mobile quarterback. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And the other thing too is like the thing about your Achilles injury. And I mean, I went to school for long enough to be one, but I'm not a doctor. But the thing about like the right Achilles is you're putting so much pressure on that when you're dropping back to pass or when you're taking off to run. And I think you'll see him maybe be hesitant to run early in the season and probably won't have the same velocity, same zip, same accuracy that you would want from him coming off that injury so soon. So like, yeah, I mean, there's, you know, like if you end up with like Riley Leonard chunking it to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, this is like a 3-win team. I mean, it's bad.
More importantly, did you go to med school?
No, I just went to college for a long time.
Oh,
he just super seniored a few times.
Yeah, okay, all right, we're taking way too long. This is the first round. We got 4 to go. RJ, you have the 4th pick. Where are we going?
So this show's called Take the Points, right? And now all you guys are going overs in the first round. You're playing the square numbers here, over. I'm taking the points figuratively on win totals, and I'm going with an under. I like Cleveland under 5.5 at plus 115. Now there was 6.5 before the Myles Garrett trade, and I moved a full win all the way down to minus 110. I thought that was probably too much. You know, he's a great player, but kind of you already know what the impact is going to be on that team. And then price moved back to big. And now I'm looking at plus 115, and I'm like, how are they going to win games? Like the untested head coach, you had Kevin Stefanski there, 2-time coach of the year. We know that he is a good coach. He's done a lot with a little there in his time there. You lost longtime defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz after denying him the head coach job. Can't just expect that he's going to be the same without him. You know, he is another guy who does a lot to max out the guys that he has available. Offense is super reliant on young, untested talent at the skill positions. And then you got a quarterback situation that's the worst in the league. You know, who starts between Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders doesn't matter. Like, I think by the end of the season, you might be starting Taylor Green just to see if you have a capable QB2 you can move forward with. So I don't know why this team is not among those at the 3.5 win class, like Miami, like Arizona, because I don't see a lot of upside with this team either way, unless Todd Monken just happens to be a wizard coach. And you just don't know that going into the situation. I think high side, the pie in the sky look, is that he's going to be as good as Kevin Stefanski, a guy that had struggled with this team at times and been good at times. So love the plus price on the odds here. It's the first under of this show, and it was my number 1 pick, even ahead of the Texans. I would have taken this first.
Wow. It's a good look, because if you're Cleveland and you're still trying to dump off this Deshaun Watson deal and like run out the clock on that, you're trying to maybe figure out if what you have in Shedeur Sanders, the ownership is meddled with this quarterback situation so much in so many different ways that you're now like, you don't know what you need the first pick in a good quarterback draft. So like, why not hire Todd Monken and say, look, you got 2 years. Like, you definitely have this year's a freebie, man. Just go out there, see what we have with Shedeur. And if we stink, we stink. And if we end up with the first overall pick, that's great, because Casey Concepcion has a ton of talent. He also is probably not a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL right now. Jerry Jeudy's fine. Harold Fannin looks like a budding star, but again, like young guys. And then Quinshon Judkins is definitely a star, but he's coming off a really bad injury. So you're asking a lot of these guys and they're surrounding bad quarterbacks. It is a tough sell to get the Browns to 6.
Yeah, and it's a team whose defense really held a lot of the weight, and can they do that again for a second year? This